Hello, I just wanted to go over why you should learn emacs. There's so much that people don't understand that make it an awful text editor, right? So first, we have the tooling, right? Text editors are meant to write code and edit text. But wait, forensics, Emacs does a better job at editing text. That's only true if you spend a large amount of hours, which you could be spending on learning how to program better or learning how to write better, for example. There are plenty of editors that reach near levels of where Emacs can be that require basically no learning. And once you learn it, it will help you in other areas and it'll help you with other text editors in the future. And then also other programs too. So it's also very old and crusty. So Emacs was written with certain things in mind that are completely different in today's standards. For example, Control Y is paste in Emacs. That was because Control V wasn't a thing back when it was created. There's no reason why it should still be Control Y other than legacy. So these things may change and already have changed, but some of the other stuff is unexec, which it's just a mess. Being mostly single-threaded. Not everything is single-threaded, but most packages are, which makes things very difficult. And sometimes it'll lock up your Emacs, and then you have to do Control G because that cancels whatever is running. And even though Emacs is almost always a GUI nowadays, it's treated by the code as if it's a TUI, and then it's written to GTK or whatever backend you're using in like a blank window, which makes no sense whatsoever. And it should be rewritten, but it's way too hard, and it's probably never going to be rewritten in order to be a GUI first editor. And it's not to say that it should, but that's what it is, right? These things aren't really present in modern text editors. There are some editors like Vim, for example, who also have similar problems. However, it's not nearly as bad as what Emacs has. But I still think you should learn Emacs. Notice how the video title isn't "Should you try Emacs?" or "Is Emacs good?" It's why you shouldn't learn Emacs, right? So, I just spent some time saying it's bad, but here's why you should just learn it anyway. It's really, 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 really fun. In my opinion, Emacs is the most fun text editor there is because you get to control every facet of the text editor and you get to learn how it works. That's why it's configurable, right? So it's probably the most configurable text editor that's currently out there, right? You can literally do Control H and then V to learn about a variable. It'll exactly tell you what it is, what you should set it to, what you can set it to, and what that would do, right? The same thing happens with functions and function calls. And the same thing happens with Control HK, which is for keybinds. Vim doesn't have the amount of configurability that Emacs does. Some people say it does, but the problem with Vim is that it's fundamentally a text editor that's made in C, configurable with a Vim script. Emacs is a text editor that's made in eLisp with C to make things faster. What does that mean? Well, there's almost all the core features in Emacs is in eLisp. You can change some core things, like for example, anytime you press a key, there's a hook that runs inside of Emacs, and you can tap into that. In Vim, you can't bind a lowercase letter in command mode. Why is that not a thing? I kind of get why they do it. Basically, you kind of have to bind it in C, but why? In Emacs, in Evil, which is an emulation of Vim, in Emacs, you can do that. So even the emulation of Vim in Emacs is more capable and more configurable than Vim itself, right? VS Code. There's so many things that you can do in VS Code, but there's so many things that you can't do. It doesn't actually matter, but it's so much more fun having complete control of your text editor, right? There's so many good plugins that Emacs has, right? One of the best Vim emulations is in Emacs. And it has, like I said before, it has some things that Vim itself doesn't. And it has a stricter mode where it's more strict on what Vim things you can do. And then it also has some modes where you have some Emacs things that are laid on top of the Vim things. For example, when you install Evil by default, it will have an iSearch-like search when you do slash, right? However, if you want it to be more Vim-like, there's an option which you can just, there's a variable you can set, and then it will try to be more Vim-like and have some certain Vim syntax that you can do in iSearch. Although iSearch I think is a little bit better just because of the way it's implemented. There's so many keybinds in it, you have to actually look at it. Anyway, org mode has no competition and basically is one of the best ways to organize notes, author documents, write spreadsheets, do literate programming, maintain to-do lists, do some planning, and there's so much more you can do. It's actually bonkers. You can go to, I think it's orgmode.org, and you can just check out the site there, and it'll tell you some of the stuff it can do. Even if you don't want to try out Emacs, just look at org mode to see what an editor could be capable of. And I don't think any other editor would want to do all these things. Emacs is only able to do this because of how extendable it is and how easily extendable it is. If you were to try to do this in Vim, you would need to edit so much of the C and make so many APIs that it wouldn't even be, or it would be extremely slow, right? There have been plenty of times in the past where people tried to make org mode in Vim, but they've all failed pretty much. And there's so many other good plugins like Maggot, Ivy, and WatchKey and Crooks. And there's even more than this. You have to do your own research. I would highly suggest you can go to melpa.org here, melpa.org, and you can just see how many plugins is available on there. There's actually multiple different repositories. I believe there's a GNU one, and then there's also, I think that's elpa.org, and then there's also like one or two more. You have to just Google it, you'll probably find it. Now, please go try Emacs. Just because you might really enjoy it and you might love how it works. You don't have to love it. It's not going to make you a better programmer. It's not going to fix all of your problems, but it could be your new hobby. It's not the destination, but it's the journey along the way that matters. It doesn't matter if you're using the best text editor. It just matters that you're using the text editor that you want to use.